G'day, Ben from Melbourne here. Today I'm going to have a crack at the AC/DC tag. Well, I have to, really, don't I? This is a tag that was started by George from George's Room of Rock, a aptly titled channel for this competition. Seen a few people do it. I'll leave George's details below so you can check out his original video and subscribe to the great man. So, in the name of brevity, let's get into it. Question 1. It's a long way to the top. What's the first song or album you heard from the band? Well, the first song I am aware of was the audio-visual experience, and coming from Australia, it's a long way to the top, because I remember very early on, this is before school, maybe 4, something like that, the film clip of AC/DC on the back of a truck playing It's a Long Way to the Top, going down Swanston Street in Melbourne with Bon Scott and his bagpipes. Growing up in Australia, if you're around my age, you couldn't avoid it. The film clip was, shown on Countdown non-stop at the time. And being obsessed with music from a young age, that really caught my attention straight away. So I would say It's a Long Way to the Top would be the first thing I heard of AC/DC. Over here, even though I was too young to see Bon Scott, I'm old enough to have been aware of Bon Scott and AC/DC when he was still alive. Brilliant stuff. Right, next up, number 2, Let There Be Rock. Which producer do you feel did the band justice in the studio? Well, this is going to be controversial because I should say Vander and Young, because, the brother of, and both of them were in the Easy Beats, the other amazing Australian band from the 60s. But I'm going to say Mutt Lange, because although I do like Powerage better than this, the sound of this is so punchy. It's kind of perfect. The guitars, you can hear the interplay of the riffs between Malcolm and Angus. Bon's vocals are like beautiful, like just perfectly centered, and they captured his like rasp as well, and like a record that is announcing a band to the world should sound like. The bass and the drums are punchy and kick-ass. Angus's guitar solos front and center as it should be. I just think this, although like a lot of my favorite songs are on other albums, just sound-wise, this really sounds good. I think it was already nice and raw with Vander and Young, but I think this just brought it up to the next level so that AC/DC could become like a truly international band. Okay. Livewire, question 3. How many times have you seen the band? Which was your favorite? And if you never saw them, when would you have liked to have seen them live? Well, I've seen them, I think, 6 times. I would also like to say I would love to have been at that concert that there's footage of from, I think it's 76 or 77, where they play in Glasgow, sorry. Invented a new place. Where it looks like they're playing in a theater. It's a fantastic show. But out of the times I've seen it, my favorite time, I would have to say the first and the last times. Not because I think anything is any better than any other one. They always put on a brilliant show, and it's always mind-blowing how good they are. Like, I think I said in a video before that they toured just infrequently enough, and I see a bazillion bands in between, and like, no, they're the best, that's the best band, that's the best. And then AC/DC come in and just like, fuck, they just bring it. They know how to play those big places and make them feel small, and the sound is always fantastic, and they know how to work a big stage. And obviously, I'd say the first time, because it was the first time, and it was one of my really early concerts I went to as a teenager. I think I'd only seen Bruce Springsteen in '85 when I was like not a teenager. I think it was like 11 or 12. And then I think Midnight Oil was the next one. I think that was at Festival Hall or somewhere. But AC/DC was one of the first big concerts I went down to Melbourne by myself from the country. And that was the Blow Up Your Video tour. And I didn't know, anything about big concerts really. And it just blew my mind. Couldn't believe that Angus was right there in front of me. If it was at the what's now Rod Laver Arena, and if the tennis net was still there, I was about halfway, maybe a seat or two in front of it. Yes, it was seating back then, but of course everyone stood up and went bananas. So it was like the thrill of the new, and just seeing them and just getting my mind blown and feeling deaf for days afterwards because those fucking cannons. And then most recently, it was just great. It's just a great show, and just so great to see them still be so awesome. And it was just fun. I just had so much fun. Again, the sound was fantastic. Angus, no, he's not as fast as he was around the stage, but he's still fucking got some moves over a lot of other bands. And just the guitar playing and sorry, not sure what happened there. My phone just crapped out and stopped. Anyway, you get the gist. They were fucking awesome the last time I saw them last year. Now, up to question 4. Love Hungry Man. What song do you think is their best love song? Wink, wink. Well, I would say A Touch Too Much. Now, bear with me. It's one of the few times all rock stars are like talking about, oh yeah, I got this woman, got that woman, blah, blah. They all want me. And this is like, this woman's too much for Bon. Like, even he's like feeling a bit trepidatious, big word for a AC/DC tag, because it's just, well, as he says, it's much too much. Like a vulnerable Bon. I love that. It's like different to what you would expect than most of these like lead singers of this era with heaps of bravado and women should all fall at my feet and that kind of thing. And it's got the great lyric of she had the body of Venus with arms. How can you lose with that? But yeah, I love it. Vulnerable Bon in love with the woman who gave him a touch too much. Okay, Have a Drink on Me, the best AC/DC album to play at a party. Well, I'm going to say Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Every track is a banger, like open with Dirty Deeds, followed with Ain't No Fun, like good groove for the party there. And then there's going to be some rocking. Of course you want some rocking at a party. And then Problem Child, when people get a little bit drunk and want to have a punch on. But then we'll bring it back to Squealer. Well, that might be a bit of a punch on. That's sort of a dark song as well. And then to separate the boys who are getting frustrated, we put on Big Balls and everybody has a laugh and has a great time singing about that they've got big balls. And then we're back to the rock in peace, baby. And then a reflective moment with the brilliant Ride On. And ending with Jailbreak. Oh, you'll just want to bust out of there at the end of the night of that party and go wild in the streets. That's a party record, man. Well, that's what I'm calling a party record. Next, put the finger on you. Who do you think was the best replacement in the band? Well, the best replacement was Bon Scott. Without Bon Scott, AC/DC wouldn't be what we know and love about them today. He replaced Dave Evans, who I think recorded the single Can I Sit Next to You Girl. And if you check out AC/DC back then, they were looking scarily glammy with a lot of satin and silk. And thankfully they discovered Bon Scott, who I think at the time was roadieing for them and, how could you like not want that guy in your band, even if you like looked at him and like, I don't even know if he can sing. But you know, he did have pedigree with Fraternity, and before that, that 60s band, the Valentines, that he was in as well. So, which, you know, minor success, but yeah, the perfect fit, iconic frontman, the best replacement in the band. Next up, Mistress for Christmas. I don't know what these bits at the start mean. Question 7, favorite items, figures, or box set you own. Like, I'm not one really for lots of peripheral bits and pieces like that. I'm more about the records. So like for me, I guess it's, you know, I've got, you know, I got the Family Jewels DVD, which has got all the clips, which is great. Of course, disc 1 gets watched the most because Bond's on it. Got the backtracks, which has like great like rare and live stuff. Plus, it's also got an extra Family Jewels disc in there as well, so you get to see some more Bond. And Plug Me In, which has got some amazing live footage from all eras and some really early stuff like from back in 1975, which is really cool to see. So that's kind of like, you know, my sort of thing. Well, I use this quite a bit too, my Angus Young coffee cup. So that's something. It's not like I know super collectible or anything like that, but you know, that's what I dig. I prefer to buy the records. All right. And as you can tell from some of these, I've spent more on getting original Australian Alberts ones than anything else. Snowballed. No, we're at the wrong... Where are we? Mean Streak, number 8. What do you think was the lowest point in their career? Well, that's easy. Fly on the Wall. This is just like a piece of shit, this record. I just don't like the sound of it. The songs are all pretty pedestrian. Like the song Fly on the Wall is not bad. And the accompanying, you remember that thing in the 80s where they would like make a movie with the songs and it would join it up? And it's just so shit and corny. It's just bad. And thankfully, it's a weird time too. Like you got Simon Wright on drums, which I thought was a weird fit. But anyway, thankfully, not long after this, they got their shit back together again. Okay, where are we? Hell's Bells, question number 9. What song of theirs would you like played at your funeral? Well, this one came to mind straight away off Let There Be Rock. It would, of course, have to be Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. I don't think I need to explain that any more than that. Okay. Number 10, Snowballed. What other band captured that AC/DC sound the best? Well, I've heard a lot of people say that band, Crocus, and they're a bit metal. I don't think AC/DC are metal. They're definitely like a rock band who have a really strong blues element. It's just that they play really loud with no guitar effects. It's all nice, clean shit, and no bullshit. So I would have to say, because they even which would be is a tough song to pull off, is the cover Ride On, and that's of course the Beast of Bourbon. And you know, same lineup, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and a very charismatic front man, which is Tex Perkins. And I just think it's like one of the best versions of an AC/DC song that there is. It's brilliantly done. They do it justice, pay it respect, and put their own stamp on it, which is all you can ask of a good cover. 11, Brain Shake. Who do you think could hypothetically replace Brian? Well, no one is like my answer, because, you know, we all know what a fucking disaster it was when Brian was replaced by Axl. And that, what I heard of that was fucking god awful. I don't want to hear that. I hate his voice, man. Like, Guns N' Roses probably would have been a good rockin' band if they had a better singer. I hate all these shana-na-na-nas, and he's like, my jocks are too tight and I sound like my balls are getting no air to them. High voice shits me. Don't like it. So I'm going to say again, Tex Perkins, because he's got more of the Australian larrikin vibe and a great voice like Bon Scott. Bit deeper than Bon, but he could pull it off. No sweat. Okay, for those about to rock, favorite deep track from one of their albums. Well, I'm going to go with, let's get back to Dirty Deeds, and I'm going to go with the great track opening side 2, Squealer. It's like a bit of an epic. It's got, one of those very un-PC lyrics that we couldn't let fly nowadays, and it has an absolutely fucking ball-tearing guitar solo by Angus at the end and throughout the whole song, and it's just got a real intensity to it. Great song. Okay, COD. Do you feel that AC/DC put out the same album all the time, and should they put out just one more studio album? Well, for the first part, I'd say no, because people who say that don't know shit about music, in my opinion, because you could say that about so many bands, and if they experiment too far, you're like, oh, they've lost their fucking sound. AC/DC know what they want to do, and they do it within their sound. And if you were into music, you would realize there are so many interesting riffs and great song structures and cool guitar things going on. It's like, people always talk about the Stones and the guitar interplay with the rhythm guitars. Fucking Malcolm and Angus just killed the Stones as far as that goes. Have a good, proper, hard listen. And I'm talking about especially the Bon Scott era and Back in Black. The guitar work on those albums are fantastic. And then they got it back again, in the early 90s. They had a bit of a period in the 80s like a lot of bands did. But even their 80s, again, don't want to bash the Stones because I do love them. At least AC/DC's 80s records still sound like AC/DC and not like the Stones were trying to sound fashionable and failed miserably with that horrible 80s gated sound and all that shit, where the AC/DC sort of stuck to the blueprint of a very direct sound. Say what you will about the music of that time, some of it was not up to par for AC/DC, but the albums are like a progression. That's all I'll say. Yeah. And should they release another album? Of course they should, because apparently there's just mountains of riff tapes that Malcolm left behind for Angus to use, and Stevie seems to have the chops and the sound to replicate Malcolm's rhythm playing as well. He uses that guitar, and I'm sure he uses a lot of that same gear, so that's how they get that sound. So of course we'd love another album. Anyway, moving right along. Number 14, Rock and Roll Damnation. Where do you think the band ranks among all rock bands? I hate these sort of questions. If you only count the Bon Scott era, I would probably say number 2 or 3. Just behind the Saints. Okay, last one. 2's up. What is your favorite album from the Bon Scott era and the Brian Johnson era? Well, the Bon Scott era. Powerage. Yes. The Dark Horse. It's the fans' favorite, this one. How can you not love this record? It's got Riff Raff. They opened with Riff Raff when I saw them last year. Rock and Roll Damnation. What's Next to the Moon? Great song. and just ends with like the killer Up to My Neck in You, Kicked in the Teeth. It's got Gone Shooting. That one and Next to the Moon are kind of like songs which they never really did anything like it before or since. And finishing off, the Brian Johnson, well, it's got to be Back in Black. I think it's by far his best record with the band. Angus and Malcolm were firing on all cylinders with their guitar riffs by this point. Like, you read the books, and Bon Scott was like his letters back to his friends in Australia. He was really excited about getting into the studio and working on these songs. Phil Rudd and Cliff are like tight as a fish's ass by this point because they've been touring for so long, and the band were just like a machine. Really great record. Of course everyone knows Back in Black, but like Shoot to Thrill, Brian sings his fucking ass off on that. He must have had really tight pants on that day. Giving the Dog a Bone, What Do You Do for Money, Honey? That's a great one. Of course, the famous one, You Shook Me All Night Long. But, there's Hell's Bells, Back in Black, which they still play this day. Shake a Leg's a banger as well. Love that one as well. So there you go. That's my crack at George's AC/DC tag. Jump on, have a go. Everybody loves AC/DC. Even you people who think you don't, like probably Brian, Embryonic Robot, because he's Mr. Cool Goth, Leonard Cohen, sad guy. I bet he's got an AC/DC record. Maybe two. Anyway, enough of my rhubarb, and we'll see you in the next one.